2026 will be the first full year of Switch 2, and so far we really know nothing about what Nintendo's doing. We know about a few games. We know about the new Yoshi game, Mario Tennis Fever, and then there's going to be Switch 2 versions of Tomodachi Life 2, I'm sure. There's going to be Splatoon Raiders on Switch 2. But besides those games, we don't really know too much, and none of those are really like massive system seller games. Like personally, I like the Yoshi series. I'm going to pick up the game. I love Tomodachi Life. Like that's the game that I'm most hyped for right now, but that's not a system seller for most people. And also that's going to be on the original Switch, I believe. So Nintendo is definitely planning more. Like they do this a lot where they don't reveal many of their next year plans. So I'm sure they have quite a few big games to release next year, like 2018, the second year of the Switch. Like the Switch is first full year. Like we got a lot that year, capped off with Smash Ultimate, and that of course was only announced at E3 that year. So what is Nintendo planning to really sell people on the Switch 2? Like I know the Switch 2 is selling well, but a console is not going to sell well if there's no games for it that continually come out throughout its lifespan. Like right now, the only real system seller for me personally is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I guess like maybe some people would say Mario Kart World, but Bonanza is that big game right now. There's going to be Metroid Prime 4, which would be a system seller, but it's going to be on the original Switch also. So personally, I think one of 3 games is happening next year. There's going to be a new 3D Mario, a new Smash, or a Zelda remake, maybe even a couple of these. So let's start with Mario. I've talked about that the most on the channel. A new 3D Mario was just never coming out this year. Bonanza's been worked on for who knows how many years, and they were never going to have these games compete with each other. It would just make absolutely no sense. And even though it came out in the summer, like this is a game they're probably going to have a Black Friday sale for, like really try to get people to buy in a couple weeks, like throughout the Christmas season. But into next year, when the hype starts to really die down, like when people are looking for a new 3D platformer, it's going to be 9 years in October next year since Odyssey came out, and that's a really long time. No, Bonanza is not the 3D Mario on the Switch 2. Like Nintendo is working on a Mario for Switch 2. It's just a matter of when it's going to come out, and releasing that a year after Bonanza is just a great start for the Switch 2, because if anyone's a 3D platformer fan, if anyone's a big Mario fan, that might sell them on the console. Because personally, I know a lot of people that just will not get the Switch 2 yet because while they think that Bonanza and World look cool, they just don't want to shell out $450 or $500 on a console for just a couple games. Like they want to see more, and that's completely understandable. I know a lot of people feel that way. And as for a new Smash, like that's self-explanatory. Like it's always going to be one of the biggest games on any Nintendo console, and it's going to be 8 years next year in December since Ultimate came out. So as crazy as that is, it's a really long time. Like that's the longest gap between Smash games that we've ever had since the original came out and then 64. And it makes sense considering the Switch was Nintendo's longest generation and it came out towards the beginning. And it wouldn't really make sense for it to come out now because they have Metroid Prime 4 coming out. Like I would think that they don't really want too much to compete with that. They have Kirby Air Riders also, so we actually have a pretty decent winter release schedule. Like I know I haven't talked about Kirby Air Riders yet. That's a Switch 2 exclusive, and obviously Sakurai is working on that. Like Sakurai's not gonna have 2 big games released around the same time, so I'm sure he's also working on Smash. I think that might take another year just because he's probably been working more on Kirby Air Riders now since that's closer to release. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have to wait another year for that, but I'd be surprised if we don't get it by 2027. And then for a Zelda remake, like we're not gonna get a brand new Zelda game next year because we got Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, and that was 6 years after Breath of the Wild, so they take a long time to make. And then we got Echoes of Wisdom last year, so I don't think they would release a brand new 2D Zelda game like in 2 years. I do think they're going to make a remake though. So whether it's going to be a 3D remake of Ocarina or Majora's Mask, or a 2D remake of maybe the Oracle games or Minish Cap, I think it's very likely. Like Nintendo has been trying to upgrade all the Zelda games. Like we've gotten a remaster released of every single 3D Zelda game, or remaster or remake I should say. Even Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, if you want to count the Switch 2 editions. I don't think Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess need remakes. I think they're perfectly fine. I think just porting it to the Switch 2 would be enough. But Ocarina and Majora's Mask could definitely use a full HD remake. Like, I'd love to see these worlds in HD. Because we got it on the 3DS, and 3DS remakes are great, don't get me wrong, but they're not very accessible now. And it does look very outdated. And of course, these are 2 of the most popular Nintendo games ever. So for someone who might be on the fence, like maybe someone's a Zelda fan, but not the biggest Nintendo fan, that could convince them to buy the console. Because I've known quite a few people who love the Legend of Zelda series. Like, it's their favorite series in gaming, but they're not really fans of Nintendo's other games. Or maybe they like it a little bit, but they would never buy a Nintendo console unless there's just a bunch of Zelda content on it. Like the new Hyrule Warriors, like that's more of a niche game. It's not a mainline Zelda game. Really feel like we're getting an Oracle remake, like an Oracle Games remake, just because these games are very outdated now, and we already got the remake of Link's Awakening. So I just have a feeling that Nintendo's going to do that. So there's a lot more Nintendo can do. Like there could be a new series, there could be some game out of the blue. Like maybe they just announced a new Star Fox, maybe they announced a 2D Metroid, but I think that's probably a little too soon too. Maybe they announced a new Mario RPG, which I talked about in another video. If you asked me a couple weeks ago, I probably would have said that a new Animal Crossing would be like a big system seller, but I highly doubt they're gonna release a new Animal Crossing now. Like, we literally just got the Switch 2 version of New Horizons, so that leads me to believe it's probably a couple years away from a new Animal Crossing, because it's not like one of those series where like you're gonna just play every game. Like, Animal Crossing can be played for a long time. It doesn't make sense if someone's playing like 2 Animal Crossing games simultaneously, so I think that's kind of a bummer that they're porting what's going to be a 6-year-old game instead of making a new Animal Crossing, especially when New Horizons I don't think is the best. Like, I think there were definitely a lot of things that could have improved upon. Like, there's going to be new content in the Switch 2 edition, but it's very, very far from a new game. So really, outside of like the 5 or 6 games we know about right now for Switch 2 or for Nintendo Switch in general next year, we don't know a lot at all. I expect a January direct that's going to give a good idea of what we're getting for the year. I expect one in June that's really going to have some big announcements, and of course they're probably going to have like a September direct like they usually do. But I think the January direct or February direct, whenever it is, will give us a pretty good idea of what we're getting. I just really hope they actually announce some new games instead of just doing all these Switch 2 editions, because unlike with the Wii U, which you couldn't play Wii U games on the Switch, just no one had a Wii U, so Nintendo wanted to get these games to be more accessible. Any Switch game could be played on the Switch 2. Like, we don't need all these Switch 2 editions. It just seems like a cash grab at this point. Like, just give us new games. Like, it kind of seems like it's just delaying other games to make slightly better versions of games that are really only a couple years old for the most part. Some are a few years older. Like, for me personally, like I mentioned earlier, like Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is the game I'm hyped for most. I love the 3DS game. It's one of my favorite 3DS games ever. I think that game's going to be great. It's going to be on the original Switch 2, and what I mean by that is the original Switch, not the Switch 2. And Splatoon Raiders looks cool, but I'm just really excited to see what we're going to get in the first full year of the Switch 2. Because right now, if I was a casual Nintendo fan, I don't think I would have a reason to buy this console. Like, I'm happy with my purchase, like, as someone who covers Nintendo content, as someone who's a big Nintendo fan. Like, I love Bonanza. Mario Kart World I think is fun, even though I have some problems with it. And the screen and everything about the system is just a lot better. Like, I actually couldn't believe, like, the screen size difference compared to the Switch. Like, I don't know how I could go back to the original Switch at this point. Games just run smoother on it. There's the GameCube Virtual Console, which I think will only get better. There's the improved online. So for me, it was worth it, but I think the simplest way to keep the Switch 2 selling is as great as it's selling now is just keep putting out great games. And right now, like, there's a limited Switch 2 library that's limited to what we know. And Nintendo, even though they make some dumb decisions, they're not dumb. Like, they know they need to have a big year for the Switch 2 in 2026. And all we can do is speculate now. Like, I could be completely wrong. I really think we're going to get one of the 3 games I mentioned earlier. But let me know what you want to see on the Switch 2 in 2026. Have you bought one yet? Do you think it's worth it? If you haven't bought it yet, what would change your mind? And be sure to subscribe as I'm closing in on 80,000 subs. This has been Domain with Game Domain. Thank you for watching.